use flowery language
Mm-hmm.
to, you know, to 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 entertain,
You,
to perform,
real quick, real quick, not to cut you off. You talked about earlier like how you don't like talking about yourself like out loud to people,
Yeah,
and the way that people
yeah,
learn about you is through your poetry. Do you feel like there's some kind
yeah.
of connection between the two where it's like, yo, I'm gonna give you stuff about me and my poetry, but
Absolutely.
you gotta work for that shit, like, you know what I'm saying? You gotta
Absolutely. Yes. 100%. You gotta pick through this, pick through these pieces.
okay.
Like it's when I read back some of my poetry, especially from like the last like 5 years or so, I can pinpoint exactly where I was in life. I can pinpoint exactly where I was.
Hey, what's good, everybody? Check out this episode of the follow up featuring myself, Don Root. We had Shallownthadeep and Travis White as we discuss getting and staying creative, avoiding abstractions, and finding your voice. And pretty much we just kick it podcast style, man, just talking about the different topics and how it relates to what we have going on today. If you had a chance to participate in any of our workshops in the past, then you have a little bit of idea of kind of the key elements of what we're talking about today in this episode. So, man, hope y'all enjoy. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment. I'll crack it off. My section, as y'all know, is getting and staying creative. And right now, man, I'm working on my next project, which is called Identity Crisis, series of poems and
Ooh.
songs. Just kind of talking about like where I'm at, where I've been, and kind of the battles of like who I think I am, and just kind of playing with the whole perception of things. And I'll be working with the homie Gabe White and Gabe Whitehead, and then one of my other homies, Jazz Gold, to like produce some of the visuals through this grant that I'm working on. So it was tough, man, honestly, to like get creative for this, because like Identity Crisis is honestly what Deep, my book that I published was supposed to be. So like for a while I was like in this space of like, man, Identity Crisis needs to be this bigger than life thing, and I thought too much about it, and then I just kind of reduced it down. And I'm like, all right, cool, I'm gonna take all the pieces that I can't figure out how to organize them for it to be Identity Crisis, and I'm gonna put this book out, called it Deep. But now, like for this project, it's gonna be both like a book and like musical project. And kind of getting creative for that, I had to like live life a little bit. I feel like just like kind of step away from trying to like force shit, and come from a place of like expertise, like, oh yeah, I'm about to do this and do that. And really I just needed to like just live, experience shit, have good days, have bad days, have conversations with various people, and kind of watch shit that inspires me. So to get creative, I just kind of double down on a lot of that, like watch more content that either push me to think about shit, or just hit up somebody and like have those conversations. So I just want to throw it to one of you guys and kind of see like if you are in a similar space, and how do you guys like, all right, I'm working on a project, and like how do I get creative for this project, and more recently, not like, you can give us a little bit about how you did it in the past, but like give us some real time information if you're actively working on something, like how are you getting creative for this thing?
Yeah, I like the identity part, something that I'm like identify with, I guess, really like, right now, because like for me it's, whenever I try to push myself to be creative and just like sit down like, okay, today is a creative day, I'm doing the wrong thing. You know what I mean? Like what I need to do is like sit down and like listen to like, like a lecture like I listen to, or just sit down and read a book, or play some video games, or hit the homie up and just go drink some beers and go do some stuff. Because I find like once you're actually living life and you're more engaged in it, then it's easier to break away from that and be creative for a moment and then get back to life. But when you're stopped life and then you're trying to be creative, then it's like a completely different like feedback loop. You're not actually being creative. You're shrinking everything down and you're not using your brain as much. So I find the more movement I make, you know what I mean, the easier it is to sit down and create, like, and the more I sit down to create, the harder it is to like, the more I want to go move, And so there's that balance that like, I'm still trying to figure out, and then that comes back to identity. You got to like figure out who you are. If you think you're one person, you're going to spend your time a lot differently, And so I've been going through that. Like, am I somebody who actually gets angry?
Mm-hmm.
like that deep. Because the anger part, like spending 5 hours being angry at something. Recently they found that anger leads to memory loss in a way, right? But it makes sense, right? If you can remember the whole anger process, right, it would really kind of fuck you up. So as you're going through the anger process, once you get past it, then there's a moment of forgetting afterwards. So you're not really remembering as much as you want. So I'm trying to stay away from the anger process, right? And stay in these other processes where memory's forming in a little bit different, richer way versus this like kind of curtailing of the whole experience. So that's
Right.
one of the things going through like with identity and creation.
I like that.
I can I can definitely relate to that. As far as living life in order to be creative, because like I, for the longest time, feel like I have not been living life. Like as of late, it's been mostly just work and sleep, and then I fit in the occasional meal where I can, so to speak. And so recently, I've been trying to be more active in my social media and really interacting with some people that like I haven't really spoken to much. And also, what kind of like one of my friends, my friend Jazz, she's doing this poetry challenge right now. And like without even thinking, I was like, oh yeah, I'll do that. And I've found that with being creative or getting creative, oftentimes for me, I need a concrete reason to do it. So like I need, okay, oh, I have this event coming up. Okay, I need to write something for this event. That kind of fuels me to really get the gears turning because outside of work or sleep or like my regular day-to-day processes, it almost feels like I don't have the energy or the mental capacity to make space for getting creative. And that's just with the world being what it is and being essentially in survival mode. But I have found kind of like tricked myself into being motivated, kind of like faking it till I make it, so to speak. Um, but with doing that, I've asked other people for ideas. So I've been getting a lot of videos, I've been getting a lot of topics to write on, and it's like low key overwhelming because it's like, oh, I have all of these options to write from or write about. But it's like I kind of have to remind myself like you have nothing but time. Like you're not on a time crunch, you're not on a deadline or anything like that. So I'm kind of entering a space now where like I can kind of breathe and focus on one thing. Like I got one topic that I'm going to write about today that I'm actually really excited about, and I think for a long time I struggled with I struggled with being excited to write, being excited about being creative because it felt more like a chore. Like I call myself a poet, I call myself an artist, so I have to do these things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so a lot of it is just releasing myself from those expectations, releasing myself from that burden, so that way I can get back to enjoying the process of getting creative, which is very key for me. Because if it
Yeah.
feels like what if it feels like work, I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah. Nah, that was a great point too, man. Like definitely when you tell yourself these things, even as a producer, sometimes I sit here and look at the keyboard, bro, and I'm like, damn, I ain't made no beats in like 2 weeks, dog. Am I who I say I am? Then I watch the homie
Right.
Zill, Zill post a reel or something like that, going off making beats, and I'm like, all right, I need to get up, like
Yeah.
start plucking around and doing something. But now you brought up a couple things, man, that made me think of some stuff, like, cause like one of my notes, in the workshop was like saying yes 10% more, so that you can
Mhm.
kind of get yourself in the groove of like getting creative or even, just like signing up for opportunities so that your brain's constantly thinking on that creative
Yeah.
space. But also like in reference to the project that I'm working on today, literally I had like maybe 16 or 17 different things kind of floating, right? And then somebody came over for a session and I did, recorded whatever they needed. But afterwards, we was chopping it. Right, right. Welcome back. Welcome back.
Perfect.
But yeah, so like, dude came over and after we laid the session down, recorded everything, I was playing a couple of my tracks. Some were like super old, some were some recent ones that I was working on. And it's just something I bring this all up to say it's like something about like sharing your shit with other people for like that, like not validation, but like sometimes man you be in your own head so much that like seeing someone else vibe out to your shit, or seeing someone say like, oh man you should drop that, or when you dropping that, or kind of giving you that hype, kind of lets you put things in perspective. So like for me, like the project that I'm working on, like things became so much more clear just after playing it for somebody. You know, the whole time I've been working to myself for over 6 months, you know what I'm saying, trying to figure this thing out. And I let someone hear it and they're just like, all right, yeah, this, you know, not necessarily picking the songs, but like just reading that energy lets me know like the direction, like, all right, cool, I'm doing it right. Or, you know, how I'm
Yeah,
feeling about the project is like going in the right direction. So, no, that's my little bit on that part.
No, that same thing. Like I have to share, like when I'm like studying some new idea that I'm trying to like incorporate, right? Like there's this guy Graham Harmon, and he has this thing object oriented ontology, right? Like when I first started, I kind of isolate a little bit, but I don't know if I actually know it until I start talking to somebody else. Like before I spend any time sharing my like this idea or that with it, like there is zero confidence that I even have the thing that I thought I had. So, I think that you absolutely have to share with somebody to know, even if you have it. Like
yeah,
I can go off into the jungle and create the song, like, oh man, this is America's number one song. You know what I mean? And then, but I never share it with nobody. And how would I know if I created what I thought I created? Like
right,
it's,
right.
but yeah, that's a big point for me. Like I have to share it, otherwise I'm
Right.
not coming.
And that's one thing I give you credit for, man. I just remember times I used to just pull up to your crib and then you'll open up this fucking Google Doc with a bunch of untitled shit. Scroll down, you're like, man, this is look what I've been working on. You know, have me read through it, or you'll pull it up. You know what I'm saying? Like you were always an
Yeah,
advocate, or you know, just in your personal practice, like you were like sharing shit with people. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And however you internalize how they, you know, because like my facial reactions aren't always the most telling, you know, so I may read some shit and like nod and be like, that's cool. But I'm
mhm,
sure based on like who you share it with and how often you share, you can kind of read body language and tell like the vibe that people are getting from your work.
Well, yeah, I mean, like for you, like I don't need like the reaction was be like, is he spending any time at all listening to it? You know what I mean? Because like you're not necessarily someone who's wasting their time on this type of stuff. You know what I mean? Like there's a million fucking artists out there. There's a million people saying like, yo, look at this, it's different or it's good. You know what I mean? And just for you to like consider it and then be like, Travis, he's pretty cool. Like anytime afterwards, it's like, all right, cool. Like if Dom doesn't think I'm a fucking loser because of what I'm creating, then that's like one of the bigger compliments. Like I don't need like it's like for art, it's like specifically with you, I don't need like the now reaction. It's the more long term reaction. It's like okay, I'm still on the same place because like well, like not in the same place. Like he liked it because like look where we're at. You know what I mean? Like it would be like
Mm-hmm.
nah, that would like we're not doing that. Like
Yeah.
that wasn't good. So like the fact that you support me in that particular sense. But again, it's like without the daily practice or like the practice of sharing stuff, like there's no possible way to know what you've created. I don't think at all. So that's my big
yeah.
point on that. I think that's the biggest one.
I gotta work on that too. I definitely gotta work on sharing more. We're doing this poetry challenge. Uh, it requires me to post like little snippets of poems, and I posted one the other day and got a lot of good feedback on it. Like
Mm-hmm.
I read it to my mom, and she was like, "Woo, that's
Yeah.
fine," and I was just like, "Yes," like like not seeking that validation per se, but like
No, you need.
knowing
Yeah.
just knowing you got some heat, knowing you got something good is like I can keep going because I'm on the right track here. And it's like we were saying before, like questioning if you are who you say you are. It's that moment of clarity, like, yeah, I'm him. I do this. I do this thing well. Uh like one of my favorite memories is one of the first times me and Trav kicked it. And Trav, you read something to me that you were working on. This is when we were doing the open mics regularly.
Mhm.
And I think it was maybe a couple weeks before the next one, and you had read something to me. And we ended up having like a 3 hour long conversation on that piece because
Yeah.
it was so dope. Like, and you're like, I kind of want to take it this way, and I can take it this. Like, the conversation we had was so dope and so deep because of that piece. It was hands down one of my favorite moments. So I was like, on top of being like, yo, like my guy really does this. It's also like iron sharpening iron because I'm like, okay, let me pick up the pen. Like, let me get these ideas down. You know what I'm saying? So it was definitely top tier.
Well, thanks, man. Yeah, like I remember finishing that poem. It was I think it was the Big Bombs Dropped one. You know, the Big Bombs
Yeah,
Dropped just babies. You know, like
yeah,
when I that one, I still need to just drop that one. Like it's like I let like how many wars have I let go by and I still haven't dropped that poem. You know,
right.
it's like I don't know. I have just have a bigger picture model of myself, and like it's that like weird thing. It's like procrastination and perfectionist at the same time. You know, like it's the weirdest
Hmm.
mix in certain individuals. You know. Um,
Yeah,
I know I got that. You know, it's like, oh, it's got to be perfect. So it's like 9 years later. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
oh, I did it. You know, like, but it's like, what else did you do though? It's like, well, I did it. You know, the thing. You know, like,
I did the
uh,
thing.
but I think that goes back to Dom's bigger point. You know, it's like there's this identity thing. You know, it's like I'd rather get these particular like aspects of myself in life right, like you know, like take longer on this thing, or you know, and miss out on these other things and who I think I am, you know. Like
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
I wouldn't do it if I didn't think I was like that person. I don't know, it's weird. It's why like I think
Yeah.
identity big like I think it's the for the rest of the century, I think that's the topic.
Mm,
Like the big philosophical topic is who do you think you are and why?
mm,
And like
mm.
the answer and your answer to that and your relationship with those series of questions will guide you through the entire process of transhumanism. Like, do I want
Mm.
robot lips? Do I want nanobots? Do I want to like die a regular human? Like all those questions are going to come down to who the fuck do you think you are and why?
How do you? I guess my immediate question is like, how do you how do you identify who you are outside of the things that you do? Because for me, my first thought is I'm a poet from Los Angeles, California, and it kind of like I suck at talking about myself, with
Mm-hmm.
the exception of in my poetry. Like if you read my
Yeah,
poetry, you'll get an idea of who I am. But like I can't compress all of that into just a few sentences of this is Brandon. This is who I am.
yeah. Well, my like I mean, this kind of leads into my thing, like avoiding abstractions, right? I don't think that anybody truly is anything other than what they've done and what they're capable of doing. So it's like I can
Okay.
say, "Oh man, I think I can climb that mountain." Okay, that's a part of me. You know, I get potential as part of somebody, but then you can't say I've climbed the mountain until you've done it. So there's
Mm,
things I can say about myself up until the point where I actually have to physically make movements in reality, and then
mm,
to say I've done those movements is the lie, right? So I think that your
mm.
entire identity comes down to all of the actions that you will and have made.
Okay. Okay.
So like, you know, just avoiding abstractions on it. You know, oh, I'm the best parent ever. You'd actually have to die to do that. Like, because tomorrow you could fuck it up. You know what I mean? Like, so there's like
Very
a lot
true.
people say about themselves that wouldn't even be capable of being said without them being not here. You know, oh, I've never cheated. Well, never, ever. You know what I mean? Like, well, you have to die to have done that. You know what I mean? Like, you know,
Right.
I haven't done it so far. Okay, cool. Now you're telling the truth. Now we're
Mm,
up to speed where we're at and what's going on. You know what I mean? No, I'll
mm.
never. Oh, you know, I
Yeah.
don't know about that future thing, bro. You know what I mean? A lot of people made a lot of
Right.
plans about what's going to happen then. You know what I mean? You're
Right.
lots, yeah. So I think that when you're avoiding abstractions, like in the biggest sense, that you should just stick to the actions that are being made. You know, like if kids are
Mm,
getting killed in Yemen, it's no different than the kids getting killed in the Ukraine. Oh wait, they let all the kids in the Ukraine evacuate. So there's actually different situation because kids are actually getting killed in Yemen while grown men are fighting in the Ukraine. So we're paying attention to grown men fighting while kids are actually suffering. Like it's you know, I but like that would be avoiding abstractions, right? The abstraction is somehow the Ukraine war is more just.
mm,
No, the non-abstraction would be men are fighting men and men are bombing children and women. Those are
Mm.
two different scenarios, and we should give the like actions and mobility towards the worst scenario. but we don't because we're like so stuck in this like weirdly abstracted world where we don't evaluate our actions. Like we don't go and say, you know what, I'm somebody who, you know, yelled at their girlfriend. You know, like a lot of people will be like, oh, everything's perfect. Bullshit. Dude, you have to get to the like meat of it. Like I have bad fucking days that I'm surprised people even want to still be around me, you know? And when they are, it allows me to continue down that path towards me being the better version of me. Because if they actually left, it would fucking make me even worse. But how many people admit that? But that's all of us. You know what I mean? Those are the actions that we're making every day. We want to abstract to these deep, deep levels of like, you know, I'm in love. It's like, no, dude. It's like mostly I'm a biological creature who has no fucking clue what I'm doing, and I'm being toxic to myself and this thing I want to have sex with. Because I believe, you know, that would be getting rid of all the abstraction. Because how would you possibly know to the degree that I know what I am right now in reality? You'd have to give me some long, convoluted answer that's got a lot of fucking holes in it. It's never going to be complete. You'd have to run scientific experiments off of this planet to be able to reinforce your actual argument. So we haven't gotten to a place where you could even run science to the degree to make that level of argument without abstract. So it's almost all abstraction. You have to pretty much give yourself, I'm a very confused thing that was born naked, and naked is a word that we made up pointing to ourselves in relationship to ourselves. I have no idea if anything would even understand what I would say when I said that. We could go to aliens, hey, yo, alien, you're naked, and they have no known concept of what clothed or unclothed is. Even when they see us changing, it doesn't register. You know what I mean? Like to that degree, but we would all just think that they would just speak perfect English and know everything that I had to say. But it could be as strange as they don't have hands, so they don't even know like all of the metaphors that we use that involve hands, they wouldn't even be able to use on their nervous system. So mostly they wouldn't be able to communicate with us because we're very handed in our conversations. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna be going down this abstraction rabbit hole for a very
long just
time.
Like how bad can I abstract? I mean, and like, yeah, that's one of my favorite things. Like,
there's a level of truth that you have to reach to avoid abstraction, and I think there's a certain fear of that truth.
Oh, yeah,
because even in the now, like me thinking about the simple question of who are you, and thinking of I automatically go to the abstraction. And when I break that down, I'm like, okay, no, but what's the truth of the matter? I'm like, I don't really like that.
I don't like that at all. Yeah,
I don't like that at all.
Yeah, like, well, I could have brushed my teeth last night, but I didn't. That's who I am. Like, I'm not a poet. I'm mostly fucking up. Yeah, like I'm a poet like that much of the time. You know what I mean? Yeah. If I really look at myself, it's like you're kind of angry and you avoid stuff. It's like weird. You're a weird motherfucker who could like be way fucking better. That's really who I am. I'm a motherfucker who could be way better. Yeah, I'm not these. Yeah, I want to be a philosopher, but that would involve doing philosophy in some way. And see, like for me, I'm self-reflective enough to hopefully I don't know if I'm doing philosophy or not, but at least I've learned self-reflection through trying to be something, even though I don't know if I could ever get to that level. Like there's no evaluative process that I could go to. Bing, 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 bing. You've gotten 1,000 philosopher points. Welcome to level 1. You know what I mean? Like that's not how. Like what am I comparing myself to? Oh well, Socrates. No, Socrates. That was a nigga some people wrote about. Like we don't even know what he really did. You go read 5 different versions of people who wrote about him. You can go with Plato's version, or you can go with like 3 other different versions, and they're all different. Socrates's. Okay, well, I'm just going to go with Plato then. The same thing happens with Plato. No one of us met Plato. Same thing. Any person you can pick from not right now, like that's got to be a myth of who you think existed versus what actually existed. So you're going off an abstraction in your beliefs. You know, the most likely thing is there's some story that we've carried that was meaningful, important to us not being whatever the fuck we were back in the day, and helps us be whatever we are now. And then I have to think real hard on what we were before these guys' stories started telling, and what we are now, given we tell these stories. And that's a lot less of an abstraction. But like that's the the course of what we would really need to be doing with history and our interpretation of it, So, that's kind of my like bigger spiel on the like what I've been thinking about with my topic for the our workshop with the abstraction thing, like where I've been taking it. So
You just inspired like 4 or 5 different poems that I hope I remember.
Real quick, I wanted to ask you too. When it comes to that, like the abstractions, I was thinking like while you were talking, like how much of it is like, cause you attack like pieces that are like big topics, that's heavy on the heart, heavy on the emotions too, and then they're really serious topics. Like how much of that is like, just normal Travis White. These are things I want to talk about, and then how much has like avoiding abstractions and like your understanding of that in attachment to general semantics, like helped you really like dive into those things, because like Shallow brought up, like you have to kind of know the truth of things to really know what to abstract and avoid and all that stuff. So like, yeah, walk us through that if you can, just a little bit of like one, like how much of it is Travis and how much it has avoiding abstractions helps like expand that.
I try to, as much as I possibly can, not abstract when I'm writing poetry. So if I feel like there needs to be a poem, like if I'm like Travis in the 21st century and I feel disconnected from reality in the sense of like, one of the lines in one of my poems is, it's being a male without the type of violence that forms lasting friendships. Every dude on earth knows you can get in a fight with a dude and then become his best friend. But now we've made violence so illegal, we can't even get into those types of fights, even though those fights lead to the most type of love. So I like the line that I wrote is that feeling itself. It's literally feeling like I don't have somebody I could fuck up, or they could fuck me up, and then we're best friends afterwards. That, in fact, if I just go back and watch this and write that down, that would be more abstracted than to say, I feel like a fish out of water who can't, who's running away from a shark. Kind of, like I could see that. Like, okay, I feel like the reason why I'm out of the water is because the shark chased me. I can map that back onto the feeling of being disenfranchised in reality. Or I could just say that. No, like me explaining, de-abstracting actually made a poem.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. I found that process allows, like, it always brings a depth of emotions that get us outside of what I would consider just like gratuitous entertainment, right? Just a poem just because we needed to entertain ourselves right now.
Yeah. So was that like... So was that, am I about to cut you off? Was that intentional, or was that you trying to write the best poem ever? Like, were you like, yo, I'm going to just say this because, general semantics says you shouldn't avoid, or was this like a journey that you were taking? Like, yo, I need to write the best thing, and the best way to get that across is just to say the thing because, dancing around it.
Big journey. Like first and foremost, like, I think that I don't speak and as much abstractions as the average person. So like I'm always calling like I'm like you ever seen that show Big Mouth and like the autistic kid? Oh, he's wearing women's panties right now. Like most people would avoid saying that, and I would like, he's wearing women's panties right now. Like, like, what's up? Are we ignoring this? Oh, we're ignoring this. Okay, now I can ignore it too. You know what I mean? But I'm not like the type of person who's like, this is normal. Like all of this shit is strange as fuck to me. All of it, no matter what it is, like even sitting here on Zoom, it might seem like I'm able to do it fluently and well, but this is strange as shit. I'm literally some like monkey creature who's made a turn in its evolutionary history, and other creatures have given me the ability to speak over rocks. Mm-hmm. Like, but then that would be, again, me trying not to abstract it. Like I'm Travis. Now, Travis would be an abstraction away from the monkey creature that I really am, in my opinion, But the journey that I went through came from Robert Anton Wilson talking about Ezra Pound, and then me just getting into like what was going on at the turn of the 20th century with language in itself, right? And it seems like, so we were going through the Enlightenment, then we went through the Romantic period. So like 1500s to about 1700s is the Enlightenment, maybe 1800s. And then we get into the Romanticism, which is a response to the Enlightenment. So the Enlightenment's like use your rationality, right? Then the Enlightenment's like, nah, bro, it's about how you feel about things. And then we have the scientific revolution, which is more about de-abstracting from both of those. I don't actually have access to reason. I don't have access to my feelings the way I do. This would be Freud and all those individuals. And so what do I have to do? Well, it seems like we have to go through some group community process and come to reasons why we are speaking the way that we speak. And this would be using scientific instruments, right? So if we have to make physical movements in reality, a la science, to verify the language that I'm going to use to somebody else, then that, I think, is the turn of process of poetry at the 20th century, via my viewpoint. And so I think that what we're supposed to be doing right now is de-abstracting human language altogether. I think that we're abstracted at the beginning. When I point to water, right, in the beginning, that's an abstraction, right? By the time I go and talk about, well, there's no way we could have known what water really is because it's hydrogen dioxide in many different forms depending on its temperature. I can start getting to what this thing I really pointed to is, right? And by the time I go and say get rid of water and say this thing I was pointing to when I was saying water and point at the same thing, I've de-abstracted less and become more scientifically rational, right? And so it's like are hanging on to the primitive like language forms that are preventing us from actually having conversations like about war or about how women feel about reality, right? Because like if let's just abstract it, like de-abstract it for a second. What's the Me Too movement? Well, let's just think about human history for 10 seconds. When have women ever gotten freedom to the level that they're even remotely asking for in the Me Too movement? It hasn't happened yet. They didn't get bank accounts till the 70s. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's crazy that we're willing to go and say, well, all this stuff about it. No, we really need to de-abstract all this and say, well, what's really going on is a biological process is figured itself out and it's starting to modify itself away from its biological practices. And it needs to find out if its actual movements or the modifications are optimal or not, because it might make suboptimal modifications. And what that ultimately means would be we go and say, oh, we're men and women, and we install that forever as our modes of being, when we could have freed ourselves up from that and gone and done a whole bunch of other stuff. So by sticking within these abstractions, we're not actually able to see the consequences of it. And so I found that and this is ultimately what I think general semantics is about in its entirety, and why I find it important at all, right, is because its ability to get us into the de-abstracting phase that I have a nervous system, that I'm even separate from my nervous system, right? This thing that I consider myself, like I get hungry and then this thing I consider myself is now less efficient than I would want it to be at the thing I'm trying to focus on. So I go eat and then now I can, this thing I call myself, put more effort into it, right? So ultimately it comes down to how well do I know what I am and how willing am I to bring that to truth in language without doing these abstractions. Or if I'm going to abstract, I actually need to know what it means to abstract, right? So I would actually have to have an understanding of de-abstraction so that I can abstract correctly, right? So if I want to talk about a hamburger being very pleasant, you know what I mean, then, or a hamburger speaking truth to reality, then I would actually have to understand what a hamburger not speaking truth to reality is in its entirety. You know, like, so the, I don't know, that I kind of went really big, and so I'm done with what I have to say there. You know what I mean? Like, I think that the question you asked.
Yeah. Well, we can throw it to shallow too, because I feel like a lot of that too. You know what you talked about kind of touches on like what it takes to find your voice in this thing. You know, and like decide what things you want to write about, what things you want to talk about.
It's funny realizing, because like even while we're talking about avoiding abstraction and being creative, I've find myself analyzing my own poetry, my own art, just kind of like how I move in the day to day. And I realize, like, as it pertains to poetry and writing, I am all about abstraction. Like, how can I make this as vague and as deep as possible? Like, how can I find the most extravagant four syllable words to say that I feel sad today? Like, and I feel like that is my voice. That's a conscious decision that I make. Like, I am going to, hell, down to my poet name, Shallow in the Deep.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I started off being like, okay, I have all of these deep thoughts, and I would like to portray myself as this deep individual with my art, but really, this all of this shit is shallow. All of this shit is surface level. If you really think about it for 5 seconds. Um, and so I realized when I write, the reason it takes me so long is because I can never just write what it is. I can never just write what the thing is, what the emotion is. I have to use flowery language
Mm-hmm.
to, to 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 entertain,
You,
to perform,
real quick, not to cut you off. You talked about earlier like how you don't like talking about yourself like out loud to people,
Yeah,
and the way that people learn
yeah,
about you is through your poetry. Do you feel like there's some kind
yeah.
of connection between the two where it's like, yo, I'm gonna give you stuff about me and my poetry, but you
Absolutely.
gotta work for that shit, like, you know what I'm saying? You gotta
Absolutely. Yes. 100%. You gotta pick through this, pick through these pieces.
okay.
Like, it's when I read back some of my poetry, especially from like the last like 5 years or so, I can pinpoint exactly where I was mentally. I can
Mhm.
pinpoint exactly where I was emotionally, what was happening in my life. And that's just because, like I know. And the people that know me best can also pinpoint, like, oh, I know what he was going through when he wrote this piece. Um, I had said the interview that you and I had done, I had said how my mom at that time loved my poetry, but said my poetry was too sad. Well, like I was in a full on depressive spiral. So like that's what it was, you know what I'm saying? I couldn't just say, hey, I'm really fucking depressed and, you know, kind of don't want to live.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't just say that. I had to say, I'm in this dark room and talk about all the colors I see and how everything is black and gray and all this other bullshit.
Give
Just
off
to
the
say,
energy.
I feel, yeah, I had to give off the energy, and that's what it is. For me, the abstraction is give off the energy of whatever it is I'm feeling or witnessing or even saying. Give the energy so that way when I spit this poem, you don't just hear the words, you feel it.
Mhm.
And I think the one time I wrote something that just was not abstraction at all was the poem I wrote about the day that I almost committed suicide. And it's hands down my favorite poem because I was very honest and I was to the point. I literally started off with the date and I said, I didn't know how, but I wasn't going to be here today. I knew this was my last day on earth. And like I literally ended it with, today's the day I chose life. And it's one of my favorite poems just because it is to the point. I'm not pulling punches. I'm literally telling you what happened that day, what I felt that day. There's no flowery language. There's no multisyllabic phrases. It's literally, yo, I wanted to die today, bro. And that shit sucks. But like my people came through and they didn't even know it, but that's cool. So yeah, I'm still here. What's up? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I found that that was also one of my most impactful poems because it was to the point, because it was raw, because it was so honest. And that was the moment that I realized, like, okay, maybe there is something to changing my voice. Maybe there's something to changing up how I write certain poems depending on the topic. And like with finding your voice, like there's really no rules to it. I used to think that like, oh, I gotta sound like a Def Jam poet. I gotta have five different words to talk about the color brown. And like I have to sound like this, and I have to rhyme, and I have to do all of these things that I had witnessed because that was my point of reference at that time. But I realized, with watching all of the great poets that have come through from I Am Root events, that alone, I'm like, oh, okay, I can write however the fuck I want. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
can, I can on that stage, I can literally say whatever I want, however. To go back to Trav, case in point, the first time I saw Trav perform, I said, "What? Okay, this is different. I like this. I've I have never seen anyone else spit poetry the way Trav does, and like it's so unique, but it's so to the point, and it gives you a lot of info that like I found myself like, wait, what did he? Let me Google that real quick because I might have missed something. Like the first time I saw you perform, I was like, okay, there's no rules to this shit. I can do whatever. And for those 2 minutes or however long I'm on that stage, you just gotta shut up and listen. Like
Yeah.
you just have to listen. I can convey whatever feeling, emotion, whatever idea I have in whatever form I choose to. And so that I feel made me a better writer because it kind of expanded my voice a little bit. When you have only a certain reference point for what you should sound like or what you should write like, you put yourself in a box, of course. Um, so I think what helps is, talking to other writers, witnessing other writers, uh, reading more. Like there's so many ways you can switch up, and I feel like you don't have to stay in one way. Who I am as a poet today is different from who I was 5 years ago. Hell, who I am as a poet today is different from who I was last month. You know what I mean? And so it's it's interesting because there's still part of me that's like, nah, I can't just give you all of me right up front. You gotta work a little bit because there's part of me that wants to be mysterious and come off as like, ooh, who is he? But there's still, I think, at my very core, and this is removing abstraction at my very core, as far as my voice is concerned, when someone hears me, I want them to hear my desire to be understood.
Mm-hmm.
And that is literally it at the very core of things is when you hear me spit, you hear something or you read something that I wrote, I want you to hear me. I want you
Right.
to understand me. And that is literally it. That is literally it. And having that realization helped me because it was like, okay, I have a goal in mind from my writing. I feel more focused with my writing. And I don't feel like I have to play any other kind of role if I don't want to. You know what I mean? I don't have to portray anything else other than me or who I am at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, I like it. I
So,
rock with it. I'm kind of similar
Yeah,
too,
yeah.
bro. When it comes to like talking about myself, I definitely abstract. Like when it comes to how
yeah.
I'm feeling, what I'm doing, what I'm thinking, and those pieces, like you definitely tend to have to work to get to it. But like if I'm talking about a topic, of today, or if it's in relationship to what I'm about to do. Like early on, I was doing a lot of love poems, and those were even some erotic joints. So those I'm not necessarily being too I'm not abstracting too much. Hey, sweetheart, this is about to this is about to happen
Yeah.
tonight. After the flowers and etc. etc. You feel me? So
This is
like,
what's going down.
for
Yeah.
sure. So yeah, when it comes to me though, yeah, I definitely am a little more like kind of sheltered a bit, you know what I'm saying? And I'm working to kind of just say things as well too, because I was like in this battle of like, yo, people are mixing Dom Root with like I Am Root, you know, and I Am Root is the brand, and it's its own thing that's gonna live on its own, you know. And when I pop my shit,
Mm-hmm.
I'm popping my shit as Dom Root, you know what I'm saying? And I don't
Exactly.
need people to feel offended, like, oh, I love the I Am Root brand, but what you said about like, you know, that's different, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
that's over
Right.
there. You could subscribe and like and comment on those videos, but if you tap into what's going on here, like I'm a creative, you know, and what comes out of my
Yeah.
mouth may not be family friendly all the time. So that's where I've been
Hmm.
growing and adapting and building.
When you
Yeah, that.
mentioned being family friendly too, that's maybe you can relate to this too, because when I first started posting my poetry, I would censor myself because I'm like, oh, my family gonna see this. I got my aunties, I got
Yeah.
my elders on here. They gonna see what I wrote. So like, I would censor what I'm writing, and I'm like, it's not hitting the way I need it to hit. Like, it's not punching through the way I need it to. And it was funny because I talked to my mom about it, and she was like, "Oh, like they got a problem with it. Fuck them. They don't need to read it."
Fuck
Yeah.
yeah.
For
She
real.
was like, "This is your art. Nobody can censor your art."
It's not
Like,
supposed to be censored.
Real shit.
exactly, exactly. So that's when I started being more free. Like, okay, yeah, I cuss in my poems. Yeah, I write about some erotic shit sometimes. Read at
Yeah.
your own risk. Like, same thing with my podcast. Like, my mom wanted to listen to my podcast, and I told her, I was like, okay, there are two rules. You can't ask me about nothing that I've said. Like, you can't ask me about nothing. And what was the second rule? I was like, oh, don't don't make requests as far as what I talk about.
Hmm.
You know, it's a mental health podcast, and older black folks in mental health, they still coming a long way. Um, but I
Same
told her, I
here.
was like, yeah. I told her, I was like, I'm talking about some real heavy stuff, and I'm being very candid about it. So like, there might be some information that you did not know. You cannot ask me about it. Statute of limitations. And she was like, okay. I don't know how many episodes she's listened to, but I know she listened to them. But she asked for that link, and I was like, oh, all right.
You
Here
feel me?
you go. And I know I have other family members that listen to it too. And like, it was one of the first things that I did where I didn't worry about what family would say. And I think there's a freedom there. There's freedom in expression. You know what I mean? And so it's one of those things where like I feel like even with my art and with the things that I do, my family has gotten a better understanding of who I am because I don't go back home a lot. So for some people, they might have when they see me, they see 17-year-old Brandon who hasn't been through anything. You know what I mean? When they get to read my art or they get to listen to my podcast or whatever, I feel like they get to catch up a little bit to who I am now, and not just who I am outside of the art, but who I am as an artist too. Like Don was saying, like who I am as an artist is separate from this other shit. You know what I mean? Like, yes, there's a lot of my personal life and a lot of regular day-to-day things that are in my art, but these things are separate. This is my brand. You know what I mean? This is me, and you have two choices: like it, rock with it, or don't. But I'm not gonna change, and that's just a fact of the matter.
Yeah, my I mean, all of our like I've like analyzed myself to such a degree where like watch all of our brains are just a collection of cells. So then some of those cells would have to stop being you to censor you for someone else.
Hmm.
Those cells would rather be you than
Yeah,
hold you back. And it's not fair
yeah,
to them to ever fucking hold yourself back for anybody because you're
yeah,
literally asking part of yourself to not be yourself. That's
yeah.
so dumb. Like I've never been able to justify somebody trying to censor me. Period. Like,
Right.
I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, and then scientifically, when it comes to curse words, like this is the big turn of events, right? Stub your toe and then try not to cuss. It will hurt more. Stub your toe and cuss. It hurts more. So there's a language circuit that deals with pain, and it's all in the curse words. So think about it like this. You're in a lot of pain while you're trying to express yourself to somebody. The parts that are the most painful are now, instead of going, oh, I'm all fucking, the abstraction is fuck.
Mm.
I don't have to add all that stuff. So the abstraction for the pain is the curse word, the set of curse words. That's what they are.
Mm.
And so actually it's a form of extreme censorship at like the totalitarian level to have a population of people regulating themselves in language like that, because ultimately you're foregoing all those people from being themselves, and each one of them are now focused on preventing themselves from even coming forth and experiencing reality as it could be. Yeah, it's really bad, dude. No, fuck you.
Yeah, I remember the first time my mom like heard me like spit a poem where I cursed on stage. She was so like turned up, you know what I'm saying? Because I knew she knew that I cursed, like, you know what I'm saying? But like she was just so proud in that moment, like, yeah, talk your shit, like, you know what I'm saying? And just like
Yeah.
wanting to see like me live life, because like, I mean, she had me at 17 when she was 17, so like she's lived a lot of life, you know what I'm saying? And she was like turned up at a young age, you know what I'm saying? So like seeing me just in my bag, or like just like
Yeah.
pursuing the things that I want to pursue and doing it my way, just gives her so much inspiration. So I mean, in turn, that kind of just made me go even crazier. You know what I mean? In high
Yeah.
school, like I was making music, I was rapping, but like I was rapping about some wild shit that I wasn't living. You know what I'm saying? Just because it was fun and it was like with the homies, and we was like, you know. But once I got like into college and shit, and I was like, oh man, I actually like love doing this. I need to kind of flip it, you know, to be more in line with like who I
Yeah.
am as a person. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
and then once I realized the fam was like open to it and like and rocking with it, not necessarily like they were like playing my songs, but like they were like, yo, just do you, we don't give a fuck, like, you know what I'm saying? Like if
Yeah.
it's us that's holding you back, don't let it be that, you know what I'm saying? And that kind of opened
Yeah.
the floodgates for me.
Yeah. I mean,
Hands down.
on both of what
Uh,
you're saying, like for myself, like it's damn, I just forgot the fucking point I was about to make. Like no, but like it was like like fuck, just go on and I'll come back to it. It's
okay.
literally one of those brain fart
Um,
moments.
hands down, one of the best validation moments was when my mom saw me perform for the first time. And we were just talking about this the other day, and she was saying how, like, in that poem, I say nigga about 50, 11 times. Like, I'm talking my shit in that poem, and it was one of the first poems that like I memorized and I practiced and shit. And um, it was such a dope moment because like she recorded it on like Facebook Live or something like that, and every now and then it would pop up, and I'll watch the video, and there's so much that I don't hear being on stage. Sometimes we'll hear the audience respond, and like we'll feed off of that, but from where she was sitting, like there was so much other shit that was happening around her, and I could hear her being like, all right now, it's okay, yeah, and I'm like, oh, she getting hyped. So like when I did it, like one of my favorite moments also was like honestly that night in general was a big night for me because like, I got to say like, oh, my mom is here for the first time. She's never seen me perform, so I'm nervous. Like she did the interview with Tribe afterwards, and like, I still go watch that video. I'm like, yeah. She got some great pictures of me that night, just mingling with people. Like I think that night, um, I think Ashton had came up to me and he was like, "You performed tonight, right?" I was like, "Yeah, I think so." And he was like, "Look, I only came because I wanted to see you perform." And I was like, "Oh, all right, yeah, I'm performing." Um, so like my mom getting to witness that and witness me like popping my shit was dope as hell because she was like, "Okay, you really do this. Like, yeah, keep going." And I asked her how she felt. I'm like, how does it feel seeing me cuss? And she was like, it's a little weird, but like, because in my mind, you still my baby, but like, you're a grown ass man. Like, you're a grown ass man, and you talking your shit. This is your art. This is your craft, and yeah, it's good. Also, like, that's just cherry on
Yeah,
top. It's really good. She's like, and I'm not saying that just because I'm your mom. Like, you said some lines. Like, she's spitting my poem back at me, and I'm like,
Oh, that's the
what?
best.
Oh shit. Okay. Like, bro,
Yeah.
she was talking to my uncle. My uncle, he just got out of prison in August, last August, I believe. And she was talking to him while he was still in, and like he hates the word nigga. He is one of those black men that like absolutely hates that word. And she was breaking it down for him. She's like, nah, but like, she's like, nah, B, you gotta hear it. Like, it's so dope the way he flipped it. And like, she's like advocating for me about this poem, like trying to get this girl, her older brother, to let, to let go of his feelings about this word to enjoy his nephew's art. Like, it's such a dope moment that I'm like, I've never had doubts that my mom would advocate for me in that way, but like I never knew like what it would be about. You know what I'm saying? So like to witness that and to hear her be so hyped up over this, like, okay, I got something. Like, yeah, like and that video she took had my whole family like, okay, so when's the next one we're coming? And then COVID happened and fucked all that up. But
Okay.
like to this day, my family is still like, so y'all gonna bring those back? 'Cause we want to see you perform. And I'm like, I don't know, but like I'll let you know.
Yeah.
It's so crazy, man.
No, I also remember what I said, and it ties into what you were just saying like really well. Like, it's like one of the things you said earlier was like, you know, you're like a poet over here, and you do something over here. Like for me, I tried like I try to do the I'm this over there and this over there, and it didn't work for me at all, right? And this is kind of coming back to like the abstraction and the identity thing at the same time, right? So
Mhm.
like I'm this weird, mysterious fucking person. Like people when they like finally peel it back far enough, they're like, oh, I get it. You're like actually like when you say you do this stuff, like you do poetry and philosophy, and like no, you're like living this. Like you go all the time. Like if I hung out with you, like the more I hung out with you, the more I realized you're not doing anything else. Like I am
Mhm.
a poet. Even when I'm with I Am Root I'm doing something. You know what I mean? Like I don't put the philosopher hat down. Like there's no hat. You know what I mean? Like I'm literally like running around as all these things, and it's for me like getting to that level, like because it's a lot of work, right? Like you
Yeah.
want to go make different abstracted versions of yourself. But if I'm a philosopher, then when you come over to my house, we're not really watching a movie. We're watching a lecture that I just watched. We're gonna fucking talk
Mhm.
about it. Like that's
Yeah.
what I would want to do. You know what I mean? Like
Facts.
as myself. And then when we're like drinking, well, I'm also doing this other thing, and I'm willing to just share one of my poems now. You know, so I
Mhm.
find that like there isn't a decoupling of myself anywhere from who I'm trying to be. Right? Like there is like I could like and it's in its entirety. Like I don't have to like in as much as like when you were saying like you know you don't have to sound a certain way on the like I don't have to stop being a certain way going somewhere else. I need to be
Right.
extra shit for sure when I go there, but I don't have to
Mhm.
stop being anything else. Like I don't have to
Mhm.
like go to school and stop being someone in the 21st century who's like, is this the lesson I'm supposed to be learning right now?
Right.
Like I'm not just gonna give them credit like, oh, because I'm a student, I need to stop questioning things. No,
Right.
no, I don't need to stop being anything else. I don't need to stop being my, you know, parents' kid. I don't need to stop being this, that at any point in time. I need to carry through all the time with all the modes of being I can be. And if, once I can get to that level, then I find myself to be the happiest. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
when I'm actually like, oh, I went to the open mic and then I went out and then I did that. This is back to that living point, you know?
Mhm.
So I find that like a lot of our struggle is in the can I go and act out the things I'm claiming to be? And I find that if you're truly about it, then you're just being it all the time. Even if you're at work and you a fucking chef and you say you're a singer. Okay, there's a lot of singer chefs out there. How many of them have that fucking kitchen lit? Oh well, the smoke. I don't want to hurt my voice. How many raspy voice singers out there who've made it, who got that raspy voice from the kitchen, and are we still waiting for them to sing?
Yeah.
I need to hear it. Where's that kitchen soul? Like that was built in the kitchen. Like, start singing anybody. Like, stop it, like abstracting your life away from yourself. Oh, I'm a worker right now. Nah, you're all these things all the time. And it's a tragedy when you stop losing track of who you could really be now. Oh, I'm just at a call center. Yeah, but you also a music artist. You know what I mean? Like, you can practice your piano finger stretches. There's a million things you can do that you might not be doing because you've somehow like you're not identifying with yourself to the degree where you actually really are a poet all the time. You know, like that was the point I was like getting at earlier. I was like brain farts, like, you know, but you know, but I think that's for me, I think that wraps up the whole conversation, you know, at least from my perspective. I don't know about, you know, I would like to hear what you guys have to say, you know, ultimately, but for me, like it touches all of them, you know. You're like, to say you want to be something is to identify with the actions that's happening and then not really do anything else, you know. Like I tell people this, I go, I know the meaning of life, right? Like I claim to be a philosopher. One of the things that a philosopher would have to be able to do flat out is answer the question, I know the meaning of life, right? Never had anybody ever say no. I dare anybody to try to say no. Like, get yourself ready to say no. No, pre-do it. I fucking dare you. The meaning of life is to live one. So yeah, not one. And then no, here's the secret to life, right? Michael Jordan played basketball. Yeah, so the meaning of life is to live one, and the secret is Michael Jordan played basketball. Now, Michael Jordan might not like his whole life, right? You know why? A lot of time he wasn't playing basketball. And it seems to be all the times he was distracted away from the person he wanted to really be, he hates the person who he became. So Michael Jordan should have just probably be who he was versus all these other things. He didn't like gambling. You could see it eating him up. Michael Jordan played basketball. And we're going to remember that and none of the other shit this nigga did. And that's the inspiration for everybody. I don't have to be the sad version of no. You just got to play basketball. And we'll remember that.
Yeah.
So be a poet, be a writer, be a singer, be you. And we'll remember you being you. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
You know, so like that's my big spiel on it, you know.
Yeah, no,
put that on a t-shirt, bro.
And I dare you to call me at any time for the next 200 years and tell me I don't know the fucking meaning of life, nigga. I'll give you $1 million if you could flat tell me no with a clean heart. But don't just come try to collect $1 million. Be real on it.
Right.
Yeah, you don't know the meaning of life. Then what is it? Well, it's an abstract algebraic equation that we figured out in my lab. And how is that abstract algebraic equation playing out? Is it playing with you? Was it playing out with exactly you trying to fuck with me right now? Get the fuck out my face.
Right.
We're out here just living, nigga, and you just lived and you try to come live on me. Get off me.
Yeah, honestly, man, I feel like people don't need to ask for permission, you know, or just like start leaning into that space where you don't feel like you need to ask for permission to be who you know, essentially want to be. Like if you're that artist, like, or that creative or that entrepreneur or whatever it is that you're like telling yourself, man, when I get some more time, like I'm gonna do this thing, like, you know, instead of like waiting on the time, you know, or instead of waiting on so and so to help you out with that thing, like, you know, you can start slow research, you know, build to it, but like start to practice it, start to move as though you are that thing and embody it, you know, before like getting the blessing from said person.
100%. Like I've been recently reminding myself about Les Stroud, Survivor Man. Bro, if you could just remind yourself, he set the cameras up, walked back, got the cameras just to get the shot. You're a fucking, like, every artist is a piece of shit. You know what I mean? Like anybody who says, oh, I want to create, and you're really waiting on somebody else. Nigga, no, you could have literally set the cameras up, walked through the scene, came back, edited out all the parts that you didn't want for the show, and make the fucking show yourself while surviving in the fucking Alaska wilderness. Like, that's something we have clearly documented one of us have done. That's a metaphor for how you can actually live your life. Wow, you know, I want to create something. Well, you know, I'm waiting for the... Nigga, you don't need to wait for paint. You can literally put mud on a wall. Wait, what? When was the last time anybody got some credit and made $1 million where they had a mud painting on a wall? So it seems like we're all trying to fucking reproduce shit, wait for somebody, oh, I wish this would come or that come, or I did this. And you're not just being an artist. An artist doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
An artist will pee on the canvas and roll around on it if that's the fucking object they're creating.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get it. You know what I mean? Like some nigga, no, a nigga take the banana to a wall and made money.
It definitely did.
Yeah, bro. And like we're out here, and like people are out here waiting for what? You know what I mean? Like me, my big problem is, is my phone about to die? No, okay, cool. Sorry, my phone like blanked out on me for a second. I was like, not again. But it's like half charged now. But yeah, like I just, for me, I have to be able to say these philosophical things cleanly. Like if I want to talk about, and for me, any process of what would seem like procrastination from the outside is literally just me being curious on the inside. Like I'm not done being curious in these particular directions, and like I don't like. Sorry, I'm not gonna go climb Mount Everest before I fucking feel ready, because I'm not dying because you fucking convinced me. So you could go laugh at your friends at the bar I wanted to go to after I climbed. And you'll talk about how I died, and I wanted you guys to talk about how I lived. No.
That's real. Yeah, that's real.
Yeah, I'm
that's
doing
real.
it at my speed. I want to be at the bar and say, yo, I did that, didn't I, huh?
Yeah, no, something to be said about moving on your own time, you know, because there's times where I've gotten opportunities to do things and I wasn't necessarily ready, but the look was a good look. It's like, damn, man, like this could catapult to something else, and I kind of forced myself to be ready, you know what I'm saying? Or there's times where I feel ready and I don't get the look, you know, and I'm pissed, like, you know, just like, oh,
yeah,
you know, it's like I'm fucking ready to go, bro, like, you know.
Yeah.
So welcome to Travis's world.
Welcome
Every
to
opportunity sucks, and I'm always ready to go when there's no opportunities.
Right.
I mean, that means you gotta make the opportunity.
You know?
Yeah. You gotta make the opportunities, bro.
Oh man, I trust me. Those are on their fucking way right now. Yeah. The only person holding me back is the greater sense of self, because you know that's how this reality plays out. But that's a whole other podcast.
Right.
Whole other podcast.
All right, fellas. Well, yeah, to wrap this one up, let's just all go around real quick and, you know, just touch on one thing when it comes to your creative, like, journey right now. Like, one thing that you guys are trying to put some extra attention and focus on. One aspect of your art.
You want to start off, or you want me to start off?
Yeah, for myself, like, I've always claimed to be this, like, brilliant philosopher, and, like, you know, for the people around me who've gotten close enough and spent enough time to talk to me, like, you know, they get it. And so my goal is to bust that part loose. You know what I mean? Like, I want to pull up on a historically black college and university and get them to stop being racist by dropping the black part. I mean, it's a bigger philosophical argument, but like, racism is just overall racism has to be thinking about the world in race terms when it comes to identity. And so if we're going to want to move beyond race at all, then we have to just move beyond race and our identities altogether. And if the historically black colleges and universities are the oppressed version of the racial category, then why would you want to have that as your guiding star for getting rid of race? Is my racial category. Doesn't make any sense at all. So in my creative modes, I'm going to go try to get really creative at the university level and try to change some things so that we can have a less racist world.
Okay.
My creative endeavors are not as green, but I am working on bringing my podcast back, bringing back the Garden Podcast.
Hell yeah.
Also, I'm doing this, I got so many ideas. I have topics already, so what I'm going to do is it's not going to be so heavily tailored to mental health. That'll still be a factor, but it's really just going to be more on just regular conversations, much like these, like just specifically black folks talking and just being honest, just, you know, sharing a vulnerable space, so to speak.
By the end of the year, I'll be getting you on using that racist term, brother, but it's okay for now. I haven't
Good luck.
I can't blame you.
I
But
see the
you are a fine Homo sapien king.
Oh my god. Other than the podcast, I am currently doing this poetry challenge with my friend Jazz. I don't remember her Instagram handle.
Is she still doing
I
the
think it's.
fragrances and stuff? Reminiscence fragrance.
I don't think so. We talked about it recently about her bringing it back.
Okay.
So I think it just got to be overwhelming, if I remember correctly. But I did ask her about that like a couple of weeks ago
Oh, nice.
because I want some candles and I would rather support my peoples. You know what I'm saying? So I'm actually text her about that too. Let's see if she's gonna bring those back. Cause that's the thing. Also, she moved. She moved to Texas, so
Oh, okay.
I don't know if that's in the cards for her right now, but I hope so. Um, Also, speaking of bringing businesses back, definitely bringing the bacon lotus back. I am
Okay.
working on a few new flavors, and cream cheese is so expensive right now. And I have to go up on my prices in order to make a profit. Uh, but I'm getting some new boxes, and I'm hoping to be back in business in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully before the end of the month.
Okay. What's been your
Um,
number one seller?
Honestly, it's red velvet is always really high, and then confetti is also really high. Confetti, that one people go crazy for that one. And I think like the third highest is probably the strawberry crunch one. Um, yeah, those three are the main like, and then of course like Oreo, everyone loves Oreo, but those three for sure, people go nuts for those, and like
Okay.
I can't blame them because the shit is good. If I may
Right.
toot my own horn,
We might have to lace your
shit,
crib with some GoPros, man, and get some behind the scenes bacon footage.
bro. Yes, I don't know if you saw. I tried to do a whole TikTok of me baking one. That shit is hard. Like trying to like record and bake. Like I need a whole setup because it's. I was trying to like do it with one hand and I tried setting it up. It was a mess. It was very frustrating. And then the real thing is editing. Like there's so much editing work that goes into these TikToks, bro.
Hell yeah.
My God. Like I props to everyone that can do it. I'm one of those like if I'm not good at it immediately, I get frustrated. So and I'm trying to let go of that. I'm trying to be better. But it's hard. It is because like I'll get midway through baking and be like, shit, I should have recorded
Yeah, I feel
That's
you.
so fucking brain.
that. I'm gonna try to record the next one I bake. I'm gonna bake in a couple days, so I'm gonna try to record that one. Hopefully, I remember because I get a lot of views on them. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, this can only help me. Um, and like I have so many different like not potential business endeavors. I'm the type like I'll if I have the idea to make something or see if I can make something, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
So like I made my own body butter not too long ago. I made way too much of it. So like and it smells great. It's awesome. I'll be out here glistening. But I have all these ideas for things that I want to do, and I'm torn between telling myself that not everything has to be a hustle, but then also why not make money off of it if I can?
Right.
So there's that. Other than that, yeah, I'm doing my poetry thing. I'm getting back to writing. Um, Honestly, I've been considering going to Poetic Soul and trying to perform because I'm
Let me
awful
know.
in the
I'll hit
dance
up with you.
for sure. Honestly, I won't go. I won't go this next Wednesday because I have plans. But I'm thinking the Wednesday after that. If I
Whenever,
there's
man.
one poem, and this one poem that I'm working on today, like if it goes the way I really want it to, I might have to spit that. Like it's feeling really good. It's feeling really good, man. So yeah, I'm trying
Awesome.
to. Life has been happening, but I'm trying to get back to the things that bring me joy. You know.
Yeah.
So slowly but surely, I'm getting back to it.
Okay,
What
hell yeah,
about
man.
you, Dom? Though, what are you doing outside the project with Gabe?
Not too much, bro. That is it. Like pretty much like
That's
what I'm
all.
focused on for this year is being more intentional with like my art, you know what I'm saying? Because for so long I've been doing this hybrid thing, man. This entrepreneur half
Yeah.
in, half like trying to be creative, you know, and then I used to get mad at myself. Like, all right, I put myself on the bill for the Am Root show, you know, and I'm doing all kind of shit leading up to my performance and then oh shit, Dom Root, you know, and I'm like, oh shit, you know, they just called my
Oh,
name. I gotta immediately turn into whatever performance mode I'm expecting of myself that night. Get on stage and do it. So like where I'm moving now, bro, is just like yo, it's Dom Root art first. You know what I'm saying? It's like yo, I gotta make sure that that part is rocking because no matter how good the brand go, you know, no matter how far the brand goes, like if I'm not there, you know, that's like yo, Iron Root is this
Right.
magnificent thing. Here's the owner. He's about to perform, and then it's a mid. You know what I'm saying? Or I'm not really there.
Right.
It's just like yo, it don't connect. Like you know what I'm saying? So like yeah, honestly, bro, I'm just like stepping into who I want to be in terms of that creative space. So Gabe is helping out with a lot of the creative direction, but like my goal, I think I shared with you in the past, it was like to create these. The spoken word ones are going to be poetry videos that are like I'm performing these pieces in like unorthodox spaces. So like for example, I'll
Mm.
be either rock climbing, performing poem, or I'll be in a space where people are throwing mad shit at me, you know, and I'm just like performing straight face, no emotion, not reacting to the world
Ooh.
around me. It's just like I want to create these videos with me doing my art or doing the poetry in a type of setting that's just like either chaotic or not normal to a guy doing poetry in that setting, you know. So just kind of getting
yeah.
creative with that, bro, and like seeing where that takes me. Because like my experience with it is I put out poetry videos before and I've watched a lot of them, and you know it's a lot to it. But like in our generation, not a whole lot of people are just like into it purely for the poetry. So I do want to
Oh,
Yeah.
attract people for that creativeness and bring them into the conversations that I'm having, specifically about identity and the crisis surrounding that and so yeah, that's where I'm at, bro. Just like being intentional, trying to figure out what that looks like. And I've been, you know, chatting with some folks about my fashion decisions. You know what I'm saying? And just making sure when I go out, like my favorite thing is flannels. Like if anybody's been following, they probably noticed like Dom
Hmm.
has hella flannels. You know what I'm saying that I wear. You know, so it's just like yo, just being more creatively fashionable about around the things that I like. I love the paisley
root
pattern. You know what I'm saying? What'd you say?
Yeah.
I want that root plant plate. I want the root plant paisley short sleeve button up.
All right. Yeah, no, I'm telling you, bro. Once I get
Ooh, that would be clean.
the real plug on some manufacturing, bro, all that shit's coming. I just got some bucket hats I put in. Those should be coming out
I need
soon.
that.
You feel
I
me? And then
need
I
that.
I
Yeah.
got the sports bra set up for the ladies, you know what I'm saying? So I'm
Oh
just trying
fuck
to
yeah.
step into that lane, bro, and figure out what we can create specifically around the plant, you know what I'm saying? Because like that is like the symbolizing thing for us, you know what I'm
That's,
saying, for people to be
I
able to
love that, bro.
connect to. So more plant
Yeah,
shit.
that's
Listen,
dope.
whatever I gotta pay to get stuff in my size, I will pay it. I
Ah,
whatever I gotta.
just shoot
I'm
on,
not.
bro.
I'm not doing
You
shit.
gotta provide for everybody, bro. It'd be fucking call the government, and be like, yo, this nigga is discriminating.
No,
Hate crime.
hey, no,
Hate crime.
no, they be tripping on them prices, bro. You look at the price for some shit, and then you
Yeah,
go, "Oh, I need this size," and they're like, "I'll call to get the price." Like, nigga, just send me the shirt, bro. Like,
bro.
Nice.
I used to get mad like I've always been a big dude, but like being outside of like normal size ranges, I used to get real pissed off. Like, why don't they carry shit in our size? But like manufacturers be crazy with the prices, dog. Like
Oh yeah.
I it's materials and dyes and whatever else. Like I get it. I one thing I kind of want to get into is like I'm mad that I don't know how to sew because I have all these ideas. I see shit and I'm like I would kill that outfit, and like it's not in my size. Like I just might have to take a class and learn how to sew because
Do
like
it.
you were saying like with trying to change like your fashion choices. I'm very much in that lane. Like I just decided the other day, I was like, you know what? I kind of want to start rocking bucket hats. So now that you mentioned that, I need one.
hell
I
yeah,
need one. I need one in every color.
let's do it.
Yeah. No, everybody I've given an Iron Root t-shirt to, like I haven't gotten too many pictures back, but all these motherfuckers be wearing them shirts all the time, bro. That'd be their comfy shirt.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
I love all the like the uh the clothing brand is one of my favorite parts about even being like affiliated with Iron Root. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, cool, we got all this other stuff going on, but like that is also like just to me sexy and like whatever my aesthetic appeal is. You know what I mean? Like I think that the
Yeah.
clothing is a good route. And then I also wanted to say, like, you know, I'm really looking forward to that focus that you have, Dom. Like, I think that's like a good
Yeah,
focus, like, and a good thing to do, you know? Like, you're
absolutely.
out of like all the people who I would want to ever be associated with as an artist, you know what I mean? Like, you have like, I've learned a lot from you, you know what I mean? Like, ultimately for myself, like, I try to learn how to write more like Dom in that sense, you know what I mean? Like, kind of like the more storytelling, you know, like looking at things, because like the way I go about it, it's not a story. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, I'm telling you something, you know what I mean? Like, and so, but there's something about just Dom Root in himself that I think that, you know, it would always be sad if we had someone just trying to like not just miss out on what he thinks he needs to do to grow as an artist, you know? So I think that's
Yeah,
wonderful. Like, that's something that I'm really excited about. So like whatever
yeah,
you
I
fucking
could.
doing. And then also let's do Lucky's for one of those videos, bro. We can have, I know all the bouncers there, they'll fucking kick people out for us, and we can have them hopefully, you know, I mean, I don't know, I'm just being fucking kind of coy there, but
Yeah.
no, I'm 99% sure we can have them tell the people as they're taking the cards at the door, yo, they're shooting a video inside. You can walk by, you can walk in the scene, do what you would normally do, just don't fuck up the camera or the sound people. Like,
Right.
walk through the scene, you know what I mean? Like, if you want to like touch the nigga's face while you're doing it, you know, do it, you know what I mean? Like, just don't mess with the equipment, you know?
Right.
Like,
Okay.
because I was talking to Lee Water about doing that exact thing. So you know what I mean? Like, we could do that for you, you know what I mean, instead. Because I just shot a video with Lee Water, you know, that new Chris Brown video he did, the little like
Yeah.
the little one shot with like the different camera angles. We did that downtown with Cal.
Okay.
I'm editing that up right now. So yeah, that's just that. I want to use Lucky's like that. You know what I mean? Like exactly how you were saying, like some chaotic. You know what I mean? Like a nigga
Yeah.
could hand you a fucking beer. You know what I mean? You could like take a sip. You know what I mean? Hand it
Right.
back
Yeah.
in the middle of the thing. You know what I mean? Like take a line. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
or like not take a line. Yeah, I wasn't saying that, y'all. You know what I mean?
Hey,
It's like,
yo.
do a line. No, it doesn't. It's never gonna sound right. You know, you could speak a sentence of poetry
There you go. There you go.
and take a drink of beer. Yeah, let me not abstract, huh?
Right.
All right.
Listen, I want to be involved in any way that I can. I would love to be just in the background of one of these videos. It's like, is that B in the back? Yeah, it is. I'm an extra. Yes.
Nah,
I
hell
am
yeah.
extra.
That part.
Hell yeah, no, and I'll definitely keep y'all boys in the loop too as it gets closer. Like I'm just wrapping up what things are gonna be in the project, and then from there it's just planning out the ideas. You know, like where to shoot. You know what scene. You know all that stuff. So, no, I'm definitely looking forward to it, man. I'm excited. Like that's one space of my life that I haven't like committed like a lot of time to. Like besides like my projects, I'll go in for a minute on a couple projects, Mad Million, late night radio, so on and so forth. But
Mm-hmm.
like this level of attention to what I want to do is kind of new for me. So I'm excited for
No,
sure.
hey, yo, I'm going through a similar thing with myself. You know what I mean? Like you've seen my journey. You know, like there's a Trav the White character that I have. You know what I mean? That like I want to like put in a gun and shoot that thing at the world. You know what I mean? And like to bring that forth is it's a journey in itself. You know what I mean? And like the right focus. You know, so you know, looking forward to seeing what happens. You know, in this whole affect going forward. You know.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. All right, guys, we're gonna wrap up this episode
Yes,
on
sir.
that, and then let me stop. Hey, what up, everybody? Thanks for checking out this episode of Write the Day, the follow up, where myself, Don Root, Shallownthadeep, Travis White, we'll talk a little bit about getting and staying creative, finding your voice in the world and abstractions. So be sure to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, man, and keep spreading love. Be sure to move your